Hey there, you're watching the Data Dispatch. Thank you so much for tuning in. So later next month, I'm going on a big scuba diving trip. And recently, I've been thinking about how I'm going to pack for that trip. What to check, what to carry on, that sort of thing. It's just been a while since I've been on a big dive trip. And that's gotten me thinking, of course, about how I pack for a backpacking trip. They're weirdly kind of similar, actually. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Not how I actually pack my backpack, but how I pack to get on a plane for a backpacking trip. So I live in the Dallas area, and while we occasionally drive to a backpacking destination, most of the time we're flying. And most of the people that I backpack with, like myself, have family and kids, so we're usually trying to travel as efficiently as possible. It's an early leave, quick connections, that kind of thing. So how do I think about traveling to minimize the risk to my gear, whether it be lost luggage, broken bag, broken gear, anything? The way I think about traveling for backpacking is packing with the highest probability of getting to the trailhead with all of my stuff and none of it damaged. Nothing is foolproof, but I'm going to show you the way I do it. So option one, and the most ideal, would be to just carry everything on. You'd pack this bad boy up and just walk it right on the plane. You'd have all of your stuff in your possession at all times, and it's usually free. But that doesn't really work for a backpacking trip. For example, I can't carry on this knife. The TSA website says I'm not allowed to carry on hiking poles, though I've definitely traveled with people who have. The website also says you're not allowed to carry on tent stakes, tent poles. It says you can carry on fishing poles, but I've heard people on Backpacking Lights say they've gotten those taken. And I'll put a link to the TSA website in the description below. So, by rule, you can't carry everything on, so option two would just be to check everything. But to me, that seems like you're really opening yourself up to ruining your trip or having an awfully expensive trip to REI after you land. Even on direct flights, I've had lost luggage, definitely damaged luggage in the past. So unless you are maybe going in a few days early to get acclimatized to altitude or wait on friends or something like that, I could maybe see checking all of your stuff. But if you're traveling like I am, where you're usually trying to land the plane and jump on a trailhead, it just seems like a bad idea to me. Alright, so what's one to do then? You can't carry everything on, and I'm saying it's a bad idea to check everything. Well, I execute a mixture of both. I like to check a nice little hard-sided bag. And I will put both the stuff that by rule I'm not allowed to carry on. So my knife goes in here, my tent stakes go in here. If I had tent poles, they would go in here. My hiking poles, if you have the collapsible ones, they go in there easily. If you have these extender ones, you can unscrew everything and take it into all three pieces. Those will go in there. And also the things that I carry on the outside of my backpack. So if I'm carrying my spare thermarest, that will go. I usually carry my stove here. My rain gear goes in this outside pocket. All of that stuff will go in here. Now, so I am checking some things, and I'm not going to be happy if this bag gets lost or damaged, but if so, when I land, I can replace most of this stuff at the local REI for $100 to $200 versus checking all of your backpacking gear. That's a whole different problem. And it's worth noting, too, that unless you have status somewhere or you fly Southwest, I think, you're going to pay $20 or $25 each way to put this under the plane, but what are you going to do? Alright, so now, size-wise, I have a small backpack. I've got all that bulky exterior stuff in the hard-sided bag underneath the plane. And on most planes, I feel like I should be able, or should be allowed to carry this on. Now, I've had to gate check a couple of times, but almost to a T that has been because I've been traveling with someone with a huge backpack, usually a new guy, and the gate agent has just thrown us all in together and said, all of you guys have to gate check. But regardless, in case you're going to be flying a small plane, say you're flying into Phoenix and then jumping over to Flagstaff to go to the Grand Canyon, you're going to want to be prepared to gate check. And the way I handle that is as follows. I always have this little duffel with me. And in there is going to be, a book, an iPad, entertainment for the plane, a spare pair of clothes for after I get off the trailhead, and also all of my fragile items from out of my backpack. My camera if I've got it, my GoPro if I've got it, my InReach, things like that. That's ultimately going to go on here, but I'm going to put it in here for the flight. And most importantly, I feel like this is the most critical part of this video, in this duffel is another rolled up duffel. And you can get this way smaller before you put it in there. And what I'm going to do if I have to gate check is put my backpack in this duffel so it's protected under the plane before I hand it to the gate agent. So then, if I'm in worst case scenario and I've had to gate check my backpack, what I have is all of my fragile items, all of my cameras and that sort of stuff under my seat in front of me. I've got all the stuff that by rule I'm not allowed to carry on the plane underneath here, and it's going to be an inconvenience if it's lost for sure, but it's not a disaster. And then I've got my backpack protected in a duffel that, unless they just leave it on the tarmac, should be okay. So that is the system that works for me. Let me know what you think about it, or if you have a better backpacking travel system in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed, definitely do that. You can do that by clicking on my little logo that's floating around here somewhere. But until next time, go have some fun outside. See you soon.